and he is a postgraduate in personal management and industrial relations from Chandigarh. Sandeep started his career with Philips. Then he moved to organizations like Honda, Signal, Triveni Oilfield Services, Federal Mogul Corporation, and Welspun Group. And he has served his tenure as head HR with many of them. He has also written a book called Incredible HR, which is a compilation of his learnings from last 3 decades, especially into IR and plant HR. So Sandeep, last time we left our discussion where you gave us all a mantra to all the new age HR to keep things simple. Let's start with the same thought. And like in your chapter 2 of the book, you talked about before you joined the new company in Gujarat, you talked about that you never played the role of HR in true sense. So what is an HR in true sense in your eyes? And what qualities should this person possess?
You see, I remember once we used to tell our people, just in case you have gone on a long leave, let's say a month leave, and you do not get any telephone calls from the office, you should start giving a call to the recruitment agencies. Right? So what I'm trying to tell you is that if you are never bothered, if you are not asked any questions, if you are never reviewed, nobody's asking you to come to attend some meetings which are important, right? Then you should understand that your role there is only of an advisor. Somebody will come to you, seek some advice. If you are able to give that advice, very good. If you're not able to give, then they will go to somebody else, right? And you are only doing a maintenance function, right? Which is what traditionally P&A used to be doing, right? So prior to joining this company, right, which was Welspun Group in 2005, to be honest, I don't think so we were playing the role of a HR in its true sense. Here, we used to have continuous reviews, which was, like we had a HR council, to be honest, which was, on the group level, things were being reviewed by the topmost people, including the chairman or the, group managing director. They used to review as to what are the things, what are the steps HR is taking to ensure that the business, the issues related to the business are mitigated, right? Which are the things which HR is doing to ensure that, they are thinking ahead and proactively taking action, right? That, okay, 6 months down the line, we are going to start this plant. So what is that? How do I reskill my people who are sitting idle or who can be deployed? How do I recruit people now and then train them? Right? So these were the expectations from HR, where one felt, okay, you are truly, in that true sense, you are contributing to the business, right? And you're not doing a maintenance function. So that's what I meant.
Wow. You know what, Sandeep, I was just discussing, I have many engineer friends and they keep saying me this, what does HR do? What are you doing, especially these lockdown time? What is your role? Are you really working from home? Are you just making rangolis at home? So it actually gives me a lot of pain, but you've put it very rightly, and I'm so proud of me and my profession right now. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
Acha, Sandeep, in your book, you described about implementing the PMS culture in the organization. And Sandeep, to be honest, me and my friends from the same fraternity, we have had many discussions around PMS to understand each other's viewpoint on bell curve, rating criteria, and especially in these difficult times, the entire thing has been changed. So would you like to tell us some benefits and disadvantages along with of PMS?
You see, again, in the lines of what I just said, that HR should be contributing towards the bottom line of the company, right? And how they can, because they can't produce, right? They are not the production people. They fortunately, unfortunately, they are not the engineers, right? So they are not contributing directly. But what they can do is they can ensure that those people who need to contribute, they are effectively measured. Their performance is measured effectively without any bias, right? Without any ambiguity. So when it means that at the start of the year, their KRA has to be that they have to produce X, that X need to be very clearly defined And then what happens if they're not able to produce X and they produce X plus? What happens if they're not able to produce X plus or X plus plus? Things like that. So that's why the metrics related to the scoring mechanism is the key, so that it is defined prior to the start of the job, right? So in the total PMS, overall scheme of thoughts, what we used to do was that first and foremost, we need to identify that who are the people who need to contribute what. So what is their job content? And from the job content, which usually is covered in the JD, how do you relate that to the business plan of the organization, right? So even if the junior most people, they should be able to relate to that, okay, this contribution, I'm maintaining a register. That register will tell somebody that if something is not being done at the right time, and if that thing is not captured, the way it has to be, then it will sort of, relate, or it will sort of affect the bottom line of the organization. Things like that. So once you're able to do that, then I think rest of things become very simple. And then you can truly say that, okay, HR is actually contributing to the bottom line. Because other things are just, they are there to help that, sort of line of thought to take place.
Absolutely, Sandeep. Absolutely. And this actually completes the circle of it, from where the individual starts to, at the end, he or she is being evaluated. And this response has triggered two important questions in my mind, which I always keep thinking. And I want to ask both of them to understand for my sake and for our viewers' sake. And you also mentioned in your book that one of the strategies while implementing PMS was to focus on why of the job, as in why the job exists and what exactly the person do. So being part of the HR, I understand that there can be a delta difference between these two, and I can justify their difference. But can you help us understand some reasons and also some rectification methodology in terms of why is there a difference exist between the why and what of the job role, and how as supporting function to them, we can ensure to rectify this gap?
I recall, Parul, that long back, I read a book called First Start with Why. The author was Simon Sinek, right? So he wrote this beautiful book wherein he introduced the concept of a golden circle, right? Golden circle. So the golden circle says very clearly that you have to first start with why. Understand why something is being done, right? Then concentrate on the what part, and then how, right? So it has to be in that, sort of order. First why, then what, and then how. Invariably, what we do is we straight away jump to the how part, right? Without understanding what needs to be done and why it is getting done. So when I say, in PMS that we have to first concentrate on the why, first and foremost, one must be mindful, especially we, the HR guys, that as to why that job exists. What is the, sort of sole purpose of that job? Why the job was introduced in the first place, right? Once you're able to identify that, then everything else will fall in place. Invariably, if I ask somebody that, okay, what is that which you do? He will tell me hazard things, right? Without understanding as to why the job is there, those hazard things will contribute to so many activities. And then I'll be sort of, perplexed, and I'll be only thinking, making the KRAs of those hazard activities, without understanding that probably his job was something else. And he is probably by, way of last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, he has been asked to do something else only, which defeats the very purpose of his job. So that's what I say, that first you have to ask somebody that, okay, why the job is there? What is that which will not happen if he is not there? It is as simple as that, right? Suppose we remove this job from the organization, what will it impact directly? So we used to ask this question. Even senior most people at time, they used to get perturbed. Why you're asking this question? I've been working in the company for the last 20 years. Koi baat nahi, sir. Ye bata dijiye why your job is there. What will happen if Mr. X is not going to come from tomorrow? Will something hamper or no? Or will it continue the way it is? If it is going to continue, then probably we need to think. We need to sort of, sort of empower you with something more. We need to enrich your job, right? So first understand why the job exists, then concentrate on the what part and then the how part. Then maybe you can also understand, sir, आपका purpose तो कुछ और था, आप कर ये रहे हैं, and the how part needs to be tweaked. You can add the value. Then you'll say, oh my God, this HR guy has some brains because he's actually telling me, and he's right. I've been doing something entirely different all these years without understanding as to why the results are not coming the way it ought to be coming. Now I need to understand, oh, I've been doing all this while something wrong. I need to take this route, right? So that is the idea. Wow, the sole purpose of the job needs to be first defined very clearly. And then that needs to be related to the business plan. Because आपका business plan कुछ और है, the purpose of the job is totally different. Probably we need to tweak it because business plan ought to be changing and jobs may or may not be changing. Then there will be something which is missing, right? So that's why first why, and the why is the acha. And also another thing interesting which I did was I said, okay, this Simon Sinek, whatever he said, the golden circle, this golden circle can be related to the PMS. How? That why is business plan, right? And the what is the KRAs, right? No, sorry, what is the JD? What is the JD, right? And the how is the KRAs, right? So we related it to that so that people understand, okay, first I need to understand what is the business plan and then come to this line.
Wow. I must thank you, Sandeep. You have given me a complete circle of understanding in a very, very simple word. So next time, whenever I'm going to have a discussion with my CHR, I'm going to put these three things to him. Why? I completely agree. We should start with why, because unless we know the bigger picture of it, because our role is very small in the organization, unless we relate to that bigger picture of it, we will not feel important, valued, and we will not even understand how much and how we are contributing towards the real goal of the organization.
You see, as I have been always saying that, HR is a science. So this science needs to be understood very clearly. Otherwise, it will never be, able to come out in its true sense. Then we'll be only beating around the bush, not getting into the core.
And I know, so with all due respect to everyone in this domain, but I've seen people and consultants doing that a lot, many times. And that's actually very frustrating when you don't get to the outcome or the essence of it. True. And like I said, your previous answer triggered two important questions in my mind. And this one is, by the way, one of my favorites in terms of my understanding of, or my interest area into it. So in your book, you talked about that anything that can be measured can be improved. Can you please elaborate how can a behavior or a soft skills be measured? And I want to put one example for the sake of everybody who have not read the book as well. You've given a very beautiful example of measuring anger in your book. That's quite interesting. And it will certainly help me and my sister because we fight a lot. And every time we fight, we go to our mother and we tell her that she's the one who has been expressing more anger. So is there something that can help us measure the behavior of an individual?
Yeah, I'm sure you and your sister can start measuring the anger on a scale. And then tell your mom that, she's 3.5 and you are probably 2.75. Yeah, that'll make things interesting. Yeah, you see, that was Peter Drucker who said, anything which can't be measured can't be improved. Yeah, and he was so right. You see, let me give you an example. I'm sure all of us, who are viewing us, all of us would have seen a symphony orchestra, right? Symphony orchestra, and at times hundreds of musicians they are playing, right? And they play beautiful tunes, that, and everything is in sync, right? None of them is out of the sync. And when I say out of sync, none of them is out of scale. Everyone is to the scale. Now that scale in some lingo, right? If you would have seen, at times the camera concentrates on the sort of the books or the papers which are in front of the maybe a violin player, and there is some notation, some different lingo is there which we are not able to understand, but probably they are able to understand. Now that is their scale. The point I'm trying to say is, many times we are not able to understand that whatever we do can be measured. Only thing is we ought to be having a scale, right? That scale needs to be made, that scale needs to be discussed, deliberated, agreed, signed, and that's it. Then somebody will start measuring as per that. And from that perspective, anything and everything is measurable. There is practically nothing in this universe which can't be measured. If one can measure the distance from Earth to Moon and Earth to Mars and Earth to Sun and whatever, where nobody has been able to go, I'm sure everything is possible. So from that scheme of thoughts, I thought that, okay, this is something. And, luckily we had read in our earlier days, the concepts of, behaviorally anchored rating scale, by virtue of which we were taught, fortunately by some good professors, that, okay, this is how you can measure behavior, right? This is how you can measure any emotion. This is how you can measure whatever you would want to. And once you put things in place, and then you deliberate, seek expert advice. For example, I think I've written in the book also that for measuring anger, maybe you need to, sort of seek help of a medical practitioner, right? He will tell you that kitna blood pressure upar badh jata hai, kitna, the what kind of sound quality or sound, level, how many decibels of sound ought to be coming, stuff like that, right? Aapka heart rate kitna ho jayega, what could be the pulse rate, things like that. And once you do that, you are able to have a scale in front of you, and then everything becomes so systematic. Else, what happens was, we used to measure things based on, our own scheme of thoughts, our own whims and fancies, and then that halo and the horn effect used to be there, right? The recency effect used to be there. Somebody who was, last 3 months incidents used to play in our mind, and not the complete year. But once you have a scale in front of you, then you will know, okay. And then there is a consistency also. I will not be biased, even if I would want to, in favor of an employee. And, because there will be a scale in place. And, okay, if I have to, sort of do some, I have to become a culprit and I have to do something fictitious, then probably nobody can stop me. My boss can stop me probably. But otherwise, there is a scale available, and I should be able to sort of, give him the scores depending upon what he scores. It's as simple as that. So the crux is that you need to have a scale, agree it with your people, and then finalize it.
Sandeep, you know what? You have not just me, but you have given a food for thought for two important roles in the organization. All the learning and development professionals, especially the chief learning officers, the CLO would be thinking right now that they should, I'm sure they would be thinking of calling you in terms of helping them measure the change in the behaviors of their employees, because that's one of the major pain points, pain areas for any L&D professional, because we keep on delivering programs. We put in a lot of effort in designing all those programs. But the end of it, business will come and say, Madam, क्या change हुआ? आपने क्यों बुला लिया? 2 दिन का प्रोग्राम था, हमने कर लिया. अच्छा, even the participants themselves, they will come, Madam, हमें पता कैसे चलेगा change हुआ? ऐसे like, you have attended the program. This is so to be your responsibility. But at the same time, Sandeep, there are very few percentage of people like this. I so agree with your thought process in terms of that. If we can't measure it, we can't change it. And there are people who would also come and show us the exact changes in the behavioral indicators in terms of this has been changed. And this program has brought in this change, or this intervention has brought in this change. Very well said. Thank you so much, Sandeep. That's a very good thought. Achha, that's a personal confusion which I have, and I want you to clarify me this. So PMS, KRA, and KPIs. These are the 3 words I have. I've heard many people using them interchangeably. So I seek your support to understand the true essence of these 3 and the differences in these 3.
You see, performance management system or performance management scheme, or whatever you call it, PMS is the overall sort of, body of the things which ensures that your performance is measured and you are given tools and tackles to improve that, right? So when I say tools and tackles, first and foremost, I need to be convinced. I very strongly believe in 3A theory. 3A. First and foremost is I need to be aware about something, right? And then the second is I need to accept that, right? And the third is action. I should start taking action, right? And nothing will happen in isolation. It has to be in that order only. First awareness, then acceptance, then action. So this PMS ensures that you people are made aware, right? That awareness is there. Now, coming to the KRA and the KPI, that is a confusion which a lot of people have, and many companies, big names, they use it interchangeably, right? They say कि हमारे यहाँ KPI हो रहा है, and they say हमारे यहाँ KRA हो रहा है. And I have to be honest, I have also Googled about it, and Google also gives you all the thoughts. It also interchanges it. But then I sort of related it to that. Okay, what exactly needs to be done? So I'll give you an example. For example, let's talk about a sales guy, right? And his KRA is that he needs to increase the sale from 100 crore to 150 crore in a given year, right? So that is his KRA. Very clear KRA. There's no ambiguity, right? If you ask from the perspective of the employee, when his boss has given him this KRA, you have to increase the sale of the given product from 100 crore to 150 crore within a span of 1 year, right? There's no ambiguity, right? Yeah, but there could be ambiguity. That ambiguity could be, should I sort of penetrate into a different territory? Should I hire more people? Should I also evaluate which product is selling where and then accordingly tweak it, right? Should I do something else? Should I start an incentive scheme? All those thought process which will contribute to this 150 crore. Now, those needs to be decided before you start embarking on the job. Otherwise, after 6 months, the boss will say, "Haan, 100 ka 125 ho gaya. At least 50% you would have achieved." Suppose, it's not that he will not know, but still, suppose he asks this dialogue and he says, "Nee, sir, I have tried every level best, but it is not happening because of this reason." Arey, did you not penetrate yourself into Goa? Because Goa, last time we felt that it is, untouched territory. We felt that we need to penetrate there. Sir, Goa, this time we have not done it. Next time I'll do it. Now, do you understand the ambiguity in the whole thing? So then what we do is in the KPIs, we write these 5, 6, 7, 10 points, which needs to be discussed, debated, and agreed with the boss, so that it is a sort of watertight kind of a compartment. Tomorrow, the boss should not say, "Why didn't you do this?" And the subordinate should not say that I wanted to do, but I could not. You never told me, blah, blah, blah. So this becomes a very foolproof system. And that is why when you make it a foolproof system, people agree to sort of perform, because they know even if, I'm not able to perform, I'll not be able to wiggle out of it, because it is so watertight. Otherwise people, the mind works like that only, right? That, okay, what if I'm not able to achieve? Okay, boss never told me what to do. So I will say, okay, sir, I tried everything. Things have not fallen in place. But with this KPI, that thing is gone. The boss will be very, very clear in the first beginning only. Probably he will ask the subordinate only to make the KPIs, but then he will tweak it. That, okay, I think in my opinion, we should do this. We should introduce this product. We should withdraw this product, giving this example only, right? So those KPIs need to be also there along with the KRA. So the KRA would be 100 to 150 crore. KPI would be penetrate into new territory, introduce the new product, withdraw the old product, introduce incentive scheme, appoint your distributors, appoint 2 new RSMs, whatever. So those 5, 6, 7 things, and the beautiful part is that will also become the KRAs of somebody else, right? If he says the KPI is that appoint 2 RSMs, just imagine the talent acquisition person will have that as a KRA. So that will be correlated. And now, there are, tools available, apps available, which you're able to correlate. There only one is able to say, oh, talent acquisition wale ka ek KRA. So it becomes a very foolproof. And anything which is foolproof ought to be giving results. फिर हम बाद में बोलते हैं कि हमारा जो PMS है results नहीं दे रहा. Result कैसे देगा? आपने उसको clarify नहीं किया ढंग से, and plus you have ensured that it is a failure from the beginning only. And that is where, when you are able to do that, then people say, okay, yes, HR is in real sense contributing to the bottom line.
Sandeep, to be honest with you, I think you have created a small problem for my manager, because at the end of the year, I will ensure that my KRAs and KPIs, everything is in place, and everything is something which I understand, so that I don't get any surprise at the end of the year. So before
Absolutely.
I do that,
Towards the end, the only discussion which should happen is, what is that which I could have done better? Period. Rest of things are there on record. What is that which I could have done better? What are my development needs? That's it. These are the two discussions, because rest of things would have happened.
I truly wish that many organizations, and with I'm talking with my own experience, I truly wish that many organizations would have adopted it in as simple words as you have explained this to us. Because at the end, I have seen many people coming back to their respective HR business partners saying that नहीं हुआ, ऐसे नहीं हुआ, company ठीक नहीं देती, KRA defined नहीं है, wherein they have no idea what KRA exactly is. And even HR is not able to put them in the words which people can understand. So if we expect our business, the bottom line people are going to understand the jargons which we understand, that's very unfair. And the way you have put in the perfect example of probably recruiting 2 more individuals, probably entering into a new territory, sales, increasing that, I think that's the language which they understand, and that's where they can buy in that language. Perfect.
You see, as I always say, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. That's it. Simple rakho. Complicate mat karo.
Absolutely. And I think that's what I need to learn from you. Thank you so much, Sandeep. Sandeep, you talked about contribution zone in your book. So would you like to elaborate that using an example for our viewers?
You see, yeah, the contribution zone is, the overlapping portion between the employee, the customer, and the employer. I mean, the boss, right? The company, the customer, and the employee, right? So to give you an example, let's say as a HR person, right, and to continue with the same example of a salesperson, right? So that'll be, people will be able to relate to that. So that salesperson's, right, his KRAs are being made, and the HR person has intervened, and he is ensured that the RSMs, those 2 RSMs which needed to be hired, have been hired, right? Have been hired at the right time, at the right place, at the right salary, with the right kind of, traits available, right? So everything, so they are the best people available for the job, right? So that was the job of the talent acquisition person, right? The HR person, right? By doing that, so he is able to do what? He is able to contribute effectively into the company, right? And he's also able to understand the customers in those 2 territories where those persons are hired. They become a satisfied lot. You are able to retain them. You are able to get the repeat orders from them. You are able to get the the amount. I mean, the whatever the amount is pending. Probably there were previous things which were unpaid. So you are able to get that. So in totality, that sort of showcases the contribution zone for you, right? For the HR person, that is the contribution zone. I hope I've been able to explain to you.
Yes, and I really like the way you have taken the same example, relating it to the bigger picture for our understanding. Yes.
Sure.
So you talked about the confusion which people carry between the incumbent's position in the organization, the roles and the tasks the individual performs. So would you help our viewers by describing that confusion?
Okay. So let's give an example of, again, a HR person only. The role of the HR person is to ensure that the human resources of the company are taken care of. For example, that is one of the roles. There are many roles, but this is one of the key roles, that human resources are taken care of. They get a good experience, right? So that is one of the roles. Now the task for that could be many, right? First and foremost is to hire the right kind of people who are a cultural fit, right? Because if you hire somebody who's a cultural misfit, even if you know sort of nurture them the by whatever way, they may or may not be able to fructify to that level, right? So that is one. Then provide them the the kind of induction which they should be getting, because that is again the key. First, as they say, first 60 days of anybody employees in the organization are very very crucial, right? So they need to have a good experience, right? You need to probably provide them with a buddy, right? You need to probably provide them with a mentor, depending upon what level they come from. Now that is the task of the HR guy, right? So he will ensure that that people are hired with the right kind of sort of culture, right? Number two, they are taken well taken care of in terms of their induction, in the mentor, in terms of their buddy, right? Third, that periodically he would probably measure their employee engagement score, right? And he will also ensure that the employee engagement calendar is in place, and it is not only comprising of the of the holies and the diwalis and the lodis of the world. It is much beyond that, and the employees are actually given a good employee experience and not only employee engagement, right? So that is also taken care of. So things like that. So that becomes a long list of the tasks which the HR person should be performing to overall ensure that his role of providing the good experience to the employees is sort of, he is able to take care of that, right? So the role was only one line or two lines, but the task could be 10 or 20 or 15 or whatever number, right? But it needs to be related, right? Again, that you relate it to that golden circle again, that why and how. Why and how. Why is the role and how is the tasks.
Sandeep, I'm actually amazed. There are organizations who can't, actually, they're not able to give that the required experience to the new joinee. Forget about first 60 days, first 6 days or first 3 days. They're not able to give that experience, the one which you are talking about, and the kind of one which you've talked about in your book. So I'm actually amazed, and I truly wish, because I have seen many inductions, by the way. So I truly wish all organizations should understand the importance of it. And I want to just add on to your response one thing. One of my chief learning officers, my ex-bosses, he always used to say that first 3 days of an individual in the organization actually decides how long the employee is going to stay with the organization. That's the first impression he carries with himself. So that's amazing. And I truly believe, like you said the last time in our discussion, that even if when the person moves out of the organization, he or she can become the brand ambassador of the organization.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So, wow, that's a great thought. Okay, Sandeep, you talked about bars in the book. So can you help us know more about what bars are and where we can use it?
This term this term came into, I think, 1963. Yeah, 1963. It was developed by two guys. One was Smith and other was Kendall, right? And it was made for testing the behavioral traits of US Air Force pilots. Very interesting. So they were inducting the pilots into US Air Force, which was a very elite class, right? And they wanted to understand what kind of behavioral traits those people have. And they obviously did not want to hire people with attitudinal issues and stuff like that, right? Something which just happened, if you recall, in Pakistan, the Karachi, that plane which crashed recently, right? So there, apparently the ATC was telling that pilot that don't try that, and he said, "Don't worry, I'll take care." Right? So that's what had come. So what I'm saying is, it is very very crucial, right? That attitude of the pilots. So, and they didn't have a tool at that time. In '63, they didn't have a tool, and they didn't want to hire a black sheep. They didn't want to hire a black sheep. So these two gentlemen, they were approached, and then they developed this scheme or this tool, which was called a behaviorally anchored rating scale, wherein they said, okay, based on this, one is able to assess much better way instead of just ticking the, okay, his communication skills are excellent, good, bad, ugly, whatever, and his personality is good, bad, ugly, his attitude is very positive, not very positive, it is okay. At times is positive, at times is not positive, things like that. We all know, right? So instead of doing that, they said, okay, I think it is much better that there has to be a scale. So first and foremost, they agreed on the, what comprises of a larger trait, right? A competency, what comprises of a competency, which are the subheads of that competency. All those subheads were deliberated that what could be the, if it was a 5-scale rating, that what could be 5, what could be 4, what could be 3, what could be 2, what could be 1, right? The way I have described in the book, right? For that anger thing. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Everything was systematically defined, tested, tried, and then written. And then everybody went agreed. Based on that, they were being evaluated. So unfortunately, this bars has not been very successfully used, and there are two reasons. In fact, there was some study was also conducted as to why people are not using it. Today also, if I ask the HR, the other day I was interviewing somebody for a good company, HR head, and it was a lady. I asked that lady that, okay, can you measure? Are there something which are not measurable in PMS? And she said, yes, there are so many things. I said, okay, give me an example, and she gave all these examples, right? The behavior part. I said, have you heard of something called bars? She said, could you elaborate? Could you sort of tell me what does that means? Then I told her, and she was not knowing at all. Probably they don't even teach it now in MBA colleges, right? Because they feel that it is not important. But what I'm trying to say is that the tool is as good as you make good use of it. If you're not able to make, similarly PMS, all these performance management systems, the KRA schemes, many companies are able to make good use of that. Many companies are not able to make good use of that. It's as simple as that. So it depends how much value you add to that. What kind of mind goes into preparation of KRAs? What kind of mind goes into making these score metrics? And how diligently you measure somebody's contribution. Once you are able to do it, then the tool is as good as you use it. No. Similarly, bars. Because what was happening was not many people were happy because you were taking away a very important, power from them. Otherwise, they will look at your face and say, "Okay, भाई KRA में तो तुम्हारे नंबर ठीक नहीं आए, इसमें मैं थोड़ा ठीक कर देता हूँ." That is what exactly happens in offices and in corporates, right? That, okay, I will try to ensure that you fall into that 70% of the bell curve, right? I will ensure that this time, and next time you take care, eh? Oh, sir, please. That's it. So that mannerism has ensured the death of bars. Otherwise, it's a beautiful tool, but it was taking away my power, right? It was taking away somebody's, that, okay, I have done it. That ego, used to be sort of, taken to a different, this thing. That's why. So it's a good tool, provided you make good use of it.
Sandeep, I must tell my viewers one thing at this point. You are using simple words, and I'm repeating this statement. You are using simple words, but believe you me, because I've worked on all these things, and I'm sure most of our viewers from the fraternity would have also worked on these things. They're not that simple at all. And I really liked the way you have simply explained that how we can achieve it. And I'm a fan of this concept, by the way, that at the end of it, there shouldn't be any biased, conscious or subconscious while measuring, and something like bars or anything that can help us measure effectively the not just the work which an individual has done, but their behaviors as well. I think that's an ideal scenario any organization can achieve.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Acha, you said that you started implementing PMS within the HR function first.
Yeah.
And convinced your colleagues about the importance of it. I remember you've written in your book that you conducted review every 2 to 3 times in I mean, every time, within every 2 to 3 days, within the HR team to understand what issues are they facing or to figure out a perfect solution for that. So I'm curious to know because there's always the fixed thinking patterns that we carry. So at times there is an overconfidence within the HR team, within our colleagues. So was it more difficult to convince them vis-a-vis the business to implement a PMS is what I want to know.
No, certainly, obviously that was the first, sort of stumbling block which I was facing because and we had a large team of HR people, I had close to 8 vice presidents reporting to me there, right? So we had a large team and they were all very, very senior people, I mean, with, good credentials. So naturally I had to, and we had decided at the board level that, we will make Welspun a performance driven company and not a hierarchical, driven company that what boss says is right. No, the performance driven company. So in order to make that, I had to take them into confidence, my own people, right? First and foremost. And there was a lot of issues because they had not done it, to be honest. They had themselves not very clear about various concepts, right? And they had these things, which many of us had, that everything can't be measured. And they were always, sort of whenever they used to go to the, the staff functions or the other functions, they were always, sort of given these kind of answers that, okay, how can you measure this? This is a task which he has to do it repeatedly. Usko ek register bharna hai. Usko main kaise measure karu? Right? Things like that. So I was aware about it because I was also in the system. But then I had to ensure that these people are, that their doubts are cleared. Otherwise, they will always come back and say, sir, nahi hua. Right? So we had a marathon meeting. It lasted for, I think, couple of days, all sitting together. I said, you come out with anything and everything. Whatever you think you will be facing tomorrow, please sort of, have a perception about that, come out with that. You conceive it right here, right? And we made role models there. We ensured that, they were able to play amongst themselves. All that stuff we did, right? By virtue of that, at least they were convinced that yes, they can go ahead. And I also told them that every 3 days, every 6 days, I'll be also touring all the locations, and wherever they're stuck, I'm there, right? And where I am also not able to give some answer, we'll raise our hands. Okay, boss, yeah, I'm sending a file. It was as simple that. But fortunately, we had all the answers. But the question which you asked, it was much more difficult to convince the line functions for a simple reason, because then everything will be out in the open. The cat will be out of the bag, right? Yesterday, I used to measure somebody's performance based on his loyalty to me. I am saying very candidly. If he is loyal to me, then he is an excellent guy. I will also ensure that I will get special increment for him from the HR and from the management. Because I tell him, sir, ये भाग गया ना, अपना plant बंद हो जाएगा, right? तो इसको नहीं भगा सकते, इसको तो payment करनी पड़ेगी, and he is a most sought after, in the vicinity, and there's nobody like him. Without understanding what is his real performance to batao. And there were other people who were bloody, at times they are not even allowed to come up because they are not loyal. It's as simple as that. This guy is from X state and that employee is also from that state. By virtue of that, they become loyalists to each other, and that's why he was able to take it. So all these issues we were facing, and those line functions, but fortunately for me, I had the support from the highest level of authority. So they also knew, and there was a communication which was given to all concerned from the the highest authority, and by virtue that they knew that abhi jitna chilla lo, hona to yahi hai, karna padega. And they could, at the end of the day, with some of them, they could also see reason, because they were also facing the issue that, because क्या होता है, आपने किसी को, if you've given good marks to somebody without looking at his quality or without looking at his performance, the other person who's actually performed, he will resign. So by virtue of that, you will actually lose out on a good person, right? At the cost of a person who's a mediocre. So that also, they also used to have this kind of issue. So some people were very happy, some people were not happy, some people were angry. But we had to face it, and we faced, because of the support from the top line, because they could relate to it, they could understand that this is a real good system. This is a system which is hands-free. You don't have to do anything because the results themselves tell everything, right? And then we introduced something called compa ratio, which was also ensuring that all this bimari of special increment is taken out completely. The compa ratio concept, which will, probably some other time we'll speak about it, which will sort of give you what kind of special increment needs to be given to whom. The system will tell, not the HOD.
Wow. Sandeep, I don't have experience as good as yours, but whatever more than a decade experience I carry, I can totally understand each and everything you said, and not just understand in terms of the words you're saying or just by hearing all of it, but I could feel the empathy in your words. Because not just as part of HR, I have faced this from people, but I've faced this as an employee as well. So trust me, it's not easy when at the end of the year you have to justify your worth, or somebody else has to justify their worth, or somebody else is there sitting to kind of raise your bar high or kind of pull you down. So I have faced everything in last whatever years of experience I carry. So it's not easy. Every time there is a confusion, every time there is a anxiety, every time there is a frustration and irritation. And I think by putting in whatever you have said, the hands-free word, I really liked it. So by putting in whatever you have said, I think it's so easy to automate it or to make it happen just like that, not just for the HR, but it gives such satisfaction to people who are putting in the real blood and sweat the complete year, and at the end of it they're satisfied that I've got what I've put in.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Sandeep, before we take a leave today, I want to understand how you can help organizations, especially in these times. So we understand that this is not a regular time. This is not normal, or probably I should say a new normal, by the sake of using a positive word. So what can you deliver unique to the organizations? This is your expertise and your domain understanding in current times.
You see, obviously this is the trying time, this is the testing time for all the organization where for lesser they have to produce more, right? Because the number of resources ought to be reduced because they have to curtail cost. Even the traveling has to be reduced and stuff like that, all, right? So it is a must that the real performers are first identified, real performers are rewarded, and they are retained, right? Their level of performance is enhanced, and that will happen only when you encourage them. And when you don't encourage those people who are not performers, because what will happen, and I know many companies have been doing the sort of dirty work of giving the pink slips also, right? And whom the pink slips are given, they seek the names from their line functions, right? And नाम किसके जाते हैं? जो मेरा loyalist नहीं है, जो मेरे से बात नहीं करता ढंग से, somebody whom I think it's okay, but because my core team is there, my core team are those people whom I sort of would want to retain, right? Probably majority of them would be good performers also, but there could be some black sheep which probably are not good performers, but they are there because of their loyalty towards me. So during these trying times, the organization should ensure that they have a foolproof system of evaluation of the performance. Those people who are performing, who are contributing to the company's bottom line, they are rewarded, and they are rewarded because of not anybody's bias, because they really deserve it, right? And that deserving will come from the tool itself. As I said, it is such a beautiful tool, which I have done it with many companies now. Even prior to COVID-19, I have done it with so many companies who are understanding the real benefit they are getting, because now the HR guy or the line function don't have to come to them and say, sir, we have to retain this guy. The system will throw that this guy has to be retained, and he has to be retained because of his performance. He has to be retained because of salary, which is lower than the peer level. So that system only tells. So it's a beautiful system, and many companies are, sort of getting help from that. I'm sure in these trying times, this is, the only thing which can save them. only thing, because otherwise their key people will either go away to other peers, other competition, or their key people who are performers but who are not loyalists to the so-called line functions, line managers, they will be probably leaving. So it is a good system, and also you are creating the perception, right? Perception of telling your employees, okay, boss, in our company, in our group, in our organization, we value the performers, period. That is how it is told, no? So it can be done, and I am sure this is the right time, because otherwise it will be too late.
I completely second your thoughts, Sandeep. This is the right time because so whatever was supposed to happen has happened, and we have no control over it. I think 2020 has given me a thought, or strengthened my belief that we have no control outside our circle of influence. So whatever we can achieve in this circle, I think the right combination which you talked about, salary, performance, which can be automated and which can throw us the names of employees, that will definitely going to help us move up the ladder in terms of the progress and growth when the times are right. We should ensure to encourage them. We should ensure to retain them. And yes, I totally second this thought. Perfect. Sandeep, thank you so much for your time today. I think I didn't even...
It's always a pleasure, Parul, speaking to you. And I also get a lot of insights.
Those insights are all from your books, Sandeep. I just keep reading and gaining more knowledge, and of course, more questions is what I carry always. But yeah, I mean, like I was saying, I didn't even realize the time is about to end our session today, because the discussion was very fruitful and very learning for me. Thank you so much, Sandeep, on behalf of our viewers and Possiblers team. I thank you for your time. And we look forward for our more such discussions, more learning, and we look forward for working more on these concepts which you have explained us today.
Thank you very much, and I'm sure the viewers would be benefited by whatever I have said. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandeep. Take care. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time today, and we look forward for your presence for our next discussion. Thank you. Take care. Stay blessed.